2020. Roll call.
Knight.
Yes.
I can see Alt.
Yes.
Genzik. Nichols.
Yes.
Bontrager.
Yes.
Pavilio.
Yes.
Walkley. Okay.
Okay, next one is approval of the agenda.
Can I make an opening statement?
Not yet, no.
I'll make the motion, we approve the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, Leo? Yep. Okay, one moment. To approve the agenda, Alt,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Pavilio,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Bontrager.
Yes.
Next.
Okay. Next is the approval of the minutes or corrections or deletions.
I'll make the motion, we accept the minutes as noted.
And second.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Knight,
Yes.
Bontrager,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Pavilio.
Yes.
Okay, we're through that.
Hey, that's up to you now, Mike.
Okay, what I'm going to start with is in your staff report, I had mentioned on there that we had letters from David Porter, one dated June 16th, one dated June 30th, one dated July 16th, and I just received another one. Dave left me a voicemail on my phone that he was sending it. He left a message a few minutes before 5. I got it a few minutes after, but I will bring it up on the screen for you to look at when we get to the public notice and public comment part of this.
Thank you.
Now is where it gets tricky for me, folks, so bear with me. No. I apologize, everyone. I've got some things in the way here that I've got to get out of the way. I'm trying to put a PowerPoint up that is open.
Hey, Mike, can everybody put their mic on silent so there's no background noise?
That would be great if everybody muted. I would have to get out of this. Good, everybody's muted. Everybody's muted. So, okay. What I'm first going to do here, and I've got to find my note, is basically this is something relatively new for this group. This is it's challenging a zoning administrator's decision. This request from the Porters, so everybody understands, to construct this 1,280 square foot structure on the vacant lot at 208 Iroquois, it's not unique because we here at City Hall receive inquiries regularly, frequently, from people who ask about vacant lots. And their common question is, can we build a pole barn or accessory building on the vacant lot if we were to purchase it? We first check the zoning, and if the lot is in a residential zone district, the answer is no. If the lot is in a commercial zone district, such as light industrial, then the answer is yes. Our residential zone districts must have a home on them before structures accessory to the home can be added. We also have to be careful with large accessory structures in residential districts so that they don't become, for example, someone's home occupation, because that can be a concern when you get into the zoning definitions of home occupations. This is the vacant lot across the street, and I believe the camper that's parked on it and the other trailer enclosed, I believe that probably is the Porter's camper. The applicant information, and I've got to slide some stuff over here. The applicant, David Porter, and his wife Judith, who live at 211 Iroquois, own the vacant lot across the street to the east. On this vacant lot, they park their camper, a utility trailer. Their request is to be able to construct a 1,280 square foot accessory building on this vacant lot. And here is a 10-year-old GIS aerial of that lot. Our system is old. So their home is at the top left and the vacant lot is on the top right. Back in, I believe it was 1994, all the neighbors in that area, John Sari, the Porters, the other folks there, they went before the city requesting that Iroquois be vacated. In that vacation, there is easement agreement for the city, particularly in the area that's shaded up here at the top. Technically, the city could use it. It actually specifically says to store snow, but I seriously doubt that's ever happened. Their home and the vacant lot that they wish to build on are in an R3 one-family residential zone district. The vacant lot is conforming in size, both in width and in size. In their application, they're asking for a review and to overturn the decision by the zoning administrator, me, thus allowing them to construct the accessory building on this vacant lot. The denial is based on section 46656 in the ordinance, which covers accessory buildings in residential zone districts. And I put a copy of that section from the ordinance in everybody's staff report packets. So we have that. Basically, I'm going by this review standard here. This is in section 4669B2. And it says the zoning board of appeals may authorize a variance from the strict application of the provision of the ordinance, where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, or area of a specific piece of property at the time of enactment of the ordinance, or by reason of exceptional conditions of such property, the strict application of the regulations enacted would result in peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties to, or exceptional undue hardship upon the owner of the property. The staff finding in this case is that the zoning administrator's decision is based on section 46656, which reads, buildings accessory to a residential building shall not be erected in any required yard except a rear yard. There is not a residential home on the vacant lot. The structure being proposed is not allowed. There needs to be a home constructed on that lot first for there to be a accessory structure built on that lot. Also, the zoning administrator, myself, I don't feel there's an exceptional undue hardship or an exceptional practical difficulty for the Porters. They have a large rear yard and they're able to construct an accessory building based on the size allowed compared to the living area of your home. They could build an accessory building structure in their rear yard up to 855 square feet, which, for example, is 28 feet by 30 is less than 855. So they could build one that size in their rear yard of their home, and a variance would not be needed at all. The zoning administrator also is concerned that the wood shop and the portable sawmill may be disrupting the neighbors. Section 46656 162A in the zoning ordinance specifically reads, it's the first sentence of that part of the ordinance, the R1 through R4 one-family residential districts are designed to be the most protective of the residential districts. So that of course is a concern. With regard to public notices, a public notice was put in the newspaper and mailed to property owners within 300 feet, not less than 50 days prior to this virtual meeting. I'm going to add one thing to this slide. I had one person contact me, just a general question about it. They didn't speak against or in favor of the application. I also just received a letter. This would be the fourth letter from Mr. Porter, and I'm going to try and bring this up. So please bear with me. Can all of you see this letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Basically, it is it's a 5-page letter. Again, I mentioned we just got it. I've got to move something around here if I can. Okay. Because of its late, getting to us, I guess, Nick, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for comment. If anyone has, if the ZBA has questions from me, if not, at this point, you tell me and we can have Mr. Porter explain this letter if he would like.
Hey, John, this is Troy. Can you clarify on the page that has the photograph of the lots, the 2 orange lots? Can you tell me who owns those and what that represents?
I'm going to have to zoom out and try and bring this up, Troy.
Okay.
You're speaking of this?
Yes.
Okay. This is the portion of Iroquois that was vacated.
So who owns that currently?
It's vacated. My understanding is it shows that it is owned by the property owners, which would now be the Porters. Back in '94, the Porters did not own 208 Iroquois. It is owned by them, but that vacated portion does have some easement language in the deed and in the vacating of the ordinance that council did, but it's technically owned by them.
So my next question is, who owns the property, as you're looking at the picture, the lot line to the right of the 208, between that piece, between where the lot line is, between, is it Huron Place? Who owns that piece in between there and the road?
That is a different individual, and they've actually got that lot up for sale right now.
So the only access to 208 is through the center of Iroquois Place, correct?
Correct.
The second on the middle?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for John? Mike, I'm sorry.
Mike. I can jump back to that letter if you would like me to, Nick.
Please.
Here it is.
John, sorry, Mike, can you make it a full page by chance?
I'm sure I can.
It's so fine, they can't read it.
Yeah, make
Right. Well, that's not by design. It's something I did. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close out of it and try and jump back into it. So bear with me. I'm
I think
trying,
if you go to view, you can change it to 100% and then it will show up.
okay, thank you, Judith. No, view. Oops. I did have the view. I think that got it there, didn't it?
There appeared to be a Zoom button. Yes.
I think you've got it now, don't you?
It's still very fine.
Right.
If you take your cursor, each of you take your cursor off to the right in the black section, there's a plus and a minus. If you hit the plus, it will zoom it for you.
Michael still have to scroll it for us, so.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, basically it immediately talks about their neighbor, John Sari, and that he was the city's administrator in the building permit and zoning ordinance programs. John, how many years ago did you retire?
2006.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, David or John, why don't you guys feel free to explain it? It's your letter.
I'm ready to say
Dave.
something.
I'm,
Go ahead, Dave.
go ahead, John.
You want me to go first? Well, something I see about definitions here about zoning lots and lots of record and all that stuff is you look at 2011 Iroquois and its original lot size, the street in front of them was partially vacated and then increased the size of their front yard. Now they have a front yard that goes into this vacated street. Then they bought a lot across or next to that vacated street. So increased the size of their front yard again. Now their front yard is much larger and a weird shape than it used to be, granted. And now they want to build a garage in this front yard. And according to the zoning ordinance, no garage can be built in a required front yard. That required front yard in this zone is 18 feet. Anything beyond the 18 feet from the front lot line, which would be along the right of way, along the street, would be allowed to build a garage in all the other required yards. So a variance is not required for this garage to be built. It can be built just with a permit being issued.
John, my response to that is one of the definitions that I didn't just review, but I reviewed it with a couple others, our community development director and our retired community development director, has to do with the definition of the front lot line. And it basically reads that the front lot line, in the case of an interior lot, that line separating said lot from the street. To go on with that, basically, we determined that this particular property location actually has 3 front yards.
3 front lot lines, yes.
On the west side, it has a front yard to the north, the vacated easement, and it has a front yard to the east.
Exactly.
So it actually has 3 front yards. And again,
3 front
you know,
lot
the
lines.
biggest reason for the denial is, and this was a part of the vacating of the property, and it wasn't signed by city council or anything, but there was certainly language in there that specifically addresses the lot for residential homes. Because I think when that was vacated, I don't even know if the Porter's house was built yet. But again, you know, my opinion and the opinion of our community development director is that, you know, it is, for purposes of construction, a standalone lot, and there should be a residential home on it.
And that's why we're at the zoning board of appeals for that variance, I guess. But I see one zoning
I
lot.
agree with that.
You look at the definition of zoning lot, and it can be an unusual shape. It could be any shape at all. And that zoning lot is what's applied for a building permit.
Mhm.
And once you apply this zoning lot to the application of a building permit, that establishes your front and side and rear lot lines, the zoning lot.
Sure.
And the front lot line is obviously against the street. And the rear lot line is that 10-foot little section of land at the rear of the lot. It's opposite of the front lot line. The front and the rear lot line is established in the ordinance. All the others are side lot lines. So all these things out here in this vacant lot are side lot lines. He only needs to be 3 feet from a side lot line. He needs to be 18 feet, I think it is, from a front.
I'm going back to the definition of the accessory structure, and it needs to be on a lot accessorial to a residential home.
This is
That
one
is my
lot.
definition. That is my definition, and that is also, you know, we're going by what the ordinance says for an accessory structure in that specific section of the ordinance, 46656. You know, this is not a residential home. It's in a residential district. It is an accessory structure. And again, in the porter's rear yard of their home, you folks have the dimensions in the letters that he sent us. There is adequate room in that rear yard for a large accessory structure.
But isn't the building where we're showing it there, that is also our rear yard.
The rear
No,
yard,
that's your front yard.
the rear yard is the rear of your home.
Exactly, behind the house.
Then how can, where the words country acres are, how can that be our rear lot line?
It's your side lot line. Oh, no, I mean, it could be a rear lot line, it could be rear too. But I think it's a side.
I mean, the common definition is you look at the front of your home. And I'm gonna get out of this for just a moment. I mean, you know, to me, simply the common definition is the rear lot of the home where you can build an accessory structure is behind the front of the home. And there is adequate room back there.
But, Mike, you can build an accessory,
Square foot home, but there is room back there.
but Mike, you can build an accessory structure other than a rear yard. You're saying they could only build in that rear yard. That's not true. They could build in any non-required yard. That's what you're missing, a non-required yard.
I would agree with you, John. I would agree with you completely if it were other than a residential zone district. You know, again, the ordinance also says the residential districts, the R1 through R4, are the most protected of all the zoning districts we have. The most
Absolutely.
protected. So we have to, you know, we have to look out for, you know, just the big picture, the whole area.
I agree.
I'm gonna go on with the presentation here. I'm right at the end anyway. Essentially, the board action here, because this is not your traditional dimensional type variants, such as with, oops, I gotta get the cursor back here. The board action, based on a review of the zoning administrator's action in denying the Porter's request to construct the 1,280 square foot structure on the vacant lot at 208 Iroquois Place, the board shall deny the application's request, reaffirming the zoning administrator's ruling, approve the Porter's application, or approve with conditions. Nick, I'm gonna turn it back over to you for the time being.
Okay, I guess next would be the public comments.
What?
Anybody got a comments? If so, state your name and address.
This is Dave Porter. I wrote this last letter. It sounded like we were gonna go through that letter, and it may help you with your analysis of this issue. Would it be okay to go through the main points of the memo I sent here later this afternoon?
Can you do that, Mike?
Good. If you look at the first page of it,
Can all of you see this now?
somebody got something strong in there.
What, Dave, what point is it that you want me to get to here? It's 5 pages. Is there
Number
something?
one on the first page.
Okay,
Number one, first page.
yes, we're right there.
There is part of the ordinance. Yes, there is part of the ordinance that allows a lot or group of lots to be called a zoning lot.
To be called what?
If you look at the figure below a zoning lot, it's defined in the ordinance. It's in the definitions in the main part of the application, just below where it talks about corner lots and lots that have angles greater than 135 degrees. If you
Well,
can
one
scroll it up,
comment
I
that
have a
was-
definition of zoning lot.
Sure. Well, this is, I mean, a zoning lot has, I mean, I'm not seeing the correlation between that and the ordinance where it says an accessory structure needs to be in the rear of like a home.
No, it doesn't say that.
I mean, I look at this picture and I think more of how a cul-de-sac would lay out. You know, essentially, I think of this more as like you would a cul-de-sac. Except it's not circular, it's squared off.
Yes. Yes. But
And if
the
you own,
definition,
and if you owned a couple lots on a cul-de-sac, we wouldn't allow you to put an accessory structure standalone on a different lot in a residential zone district. If you were in a commercial district or an industrial district, that's a whole different thing.
He's wrong.
Mike, would you read the definition for zoning lot on page 2, just before number 2? Up more. There you go. Lot zoning. Would you read it to everyone?
Dave, I read this completely, but again, I don't see what it has to do with an accessory structure in a residential zone district. It clearly says it needs to be in the rear yard. And you've got a rear
No.
yard to build an accessory structure.
If I can determine this is a zoning lot though, would not it apply?
Dave, I'm not an attorney. If you want to hire an attorney, you hire an attorney, but I'm disagreeing with your interpretation. I'm getting back to the zoning ordinance with relation to accessory buildings and also to the zoning ordinance with respect to R1 through R4 zone districts are the most restrictive. They're designed that way. I mean, a zoning lot has little to do with this issue, in my opinion.
What is a zoning lot?
Pardon?
What
Dave,
is
I'm
a
not here
zoning
to
lot?
answer questions like that. That's for an attorney.
The zoning lot is defined.
We are here to go over the application to build an accessory structure on a vacant lot. And the ordinance says,
This is your ordinance, not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney, absolutely, you're right.
Why,
No, I said, this is the ordinance.
why is it that there are 6 to 7 other lots within our area here that have accessory buildings that are not in their rear lot behind their house? That's my question.
That would be a question
I didn't see that when I drove by.
The last page of this has those properties shown. Keep going. Keep going.
This is the last page.
That's the one.
Not showing the bottom line of the picture.
If you zoom it out, you can see them.
You gotta think, remember, a lot of these accessory buildings probably are not, the city don't know about them because they didn't come in and get a building permit for them. I know, and where I live, I know there's one building, one accessory building that was never zoned. It never had a zoning permit put there. John knows, I mean, Mike knows what I'm talking about. So,
I understand what you're saying.
so we can't use that as
There are 6,
we can't use that.
there are 6 homes.
So I'm saying, we'd have to look at to see if they were permitted or not. If they weren't permitted,
I'm sorry, we were talking, there's a delay.
This is Mike. I have a suspicion Jed in council chambers is where some of that noise is coming from. I'm gonna go in and ask him to shut everything down.
That'd be good.
I find it interesting that any of the 3 lots that border that property, if they would have purchased that property, they would have been able to build an accessory building there.
keep talking about it right now, so gotta wait till Mike gets back.
You just shut, I'm gonna turn John's, I'm gonna say we should just shut this down. I'm not sure what
It's Troy. Mike comes still. That's what I'm.
That's better.
It seems quieter.
That's what I'm. Here.
The garble's still.
Don't seem to have any background noise now.
Thanks, Mike.
Sounds great,
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, Nick, I mean, it's your meeting, but, you know, I would personally like, let's just get back to, you know, if the Porters want to debate definitions, they can do that, and that's their business, but I don't think that's the business of the Zoning Board of Appeals to debate definitions in the zoning ordinance. The role of this board is clearly to interpret the ordinance as you see. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to, you know, the point is based on a review of the zoning administrator's action and denying the Porter's request on this lot, the board can deny the applicant's request, reaffirming the zoning administrator's ruling. They can approve the Porter's application, or they can approve it with conditions. Nick, I'm going to leave the meeting up to you. It's your meeting, but I'm certainly not an attorney, and I have zero desire to debate definitions with someone, because that's not what I feel we're here for.
Very true.
Can I,
Why don't you close it back to board discussion?
may I make a couple of comments?
Go ahead.
Okay, Mike is back now, so, one of them is that I started to say, if any of the other 3 lots that are, connected to the property of the vacant lot, two other lots, if they would have purchased it, they would have been able to put an accessory building there with no problem. But because of the way our home faces and the way that our lot now is outlined because of this addition to this lot, then I think that proves that we have an unusual situation here. The other thing that I wanted to point out is with us owning that lot, there's no sense in us building a second home there. We're just not going to do that. And because of what is surrounding us, and because we're kind of off where no one would see the structure from the road, I don't see that it would be out of order to ask to build a pole barn there. It's not going to be seen from the rear. It's not going to be seen from the street because of what is surrounding the lot. And I hope that you can take those things into consideration.
Okay, well, public hearing session is closed. Now we'll open up to the board's member and comments.
Nick, I'd still like to say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Well, thank you. Under Mike's definition, he put in his buildings accessory to a residential building shall not be erected in any required yard. That's the point there. It can't be erected in any required yard except a rear yard. But the definition of required yard is that setback, that front yard setback. You could build a garage in your front yard right in front of your house, as long as it isn't in the required front yard setback. That's what that definition is saying. You're missing the whole point. You could build a garage in the front yard. It's fine. Just don't build in the front yard setback.
Well, like Mike said,
I understand that point, but again, the 208 Iroquois, there is not a home on that lot.
It's all one lot. It's all one lot. It's showing on your map. It's all one lot. It's not 3 lots. It's not 4 lots. It's one lot.
Oh, it's not.
It shows 211 Iroquois and 208 Iroquois.
Connected by a vacated street.
A vacated section of the street.
Vacated, now they're combined together. It's all one zoning lot, applied for a building permit.
Okay. Take you in consideration, John.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Public hearing, board comment. Anybody got a comment or motion?
It's about
I'll
done.
make the motion, we deny the variance. Mike has made it quite clear that we don't want to set a precedence that will forever change this neighborhood. We need to keep it. So I make the motion.
Do we have
I'll
a second?
second. I will second.
Motion to deny.
Is it because of you?
You're mute, Mike.
Sorry about that. The motion is to deny the application request. So a yes vote means you concur with the motion to deny. Nichols,
Yes.
Bontrager,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Pavilio.
Yes.
The application to build the structure at 208 Iroquois is therefore denied, and I will send a letter to the Porters.
No. We are totally, take us to circuit court if you think we didn't do it right.
Yes, thank you.
I guess part of the meeting's over with. Adjourn the meeting for the night.
Do we have?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Great. Perfect.
Good noises, why?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good.
Aye.
Thank you for attending tonight's meeting.